Hello, and welcome to the space where we get to be free from anxiety, from overthinking, so that we can step into the moreness to create, that feeling in your heart that you're here. I'm here for so much more, but my brain is so in the way. That this is the space where we do that. And I want us to talk about manifesting. Now, if you have this mission and it's big inside your heart, there's a good chance that you have played or you're dead serious about manifesting. And I want to talk about where sometimes the results of manifesting don't get to be what we kind of think we deserve. Like, do you know how much effort if you're anything like me, I'm putting the effort in. I want tangible results. So today I'm going to be speaking about why if your results don't match the effort and the energy that you're putting into manifesting, this could be really helpful. It's a small tweak, and all of a sudden you're like, I get it. You can look at manifesting in this really different way. And then everything that you're foreseeing gets to collapse into 3D. And it's like, okay, this, I knew. The way I want us to look about it is this idea of everything is energy. That's what I start with all of the time. When I was thinking about manifesting, the double slit test that they do in quantum physics blows my mind. It shows how waveform, Google double split test physics, it shows how waveform collapses into matter when it is being consciously perceived. And they keep trying all these different ways to record the light form, and every time it knows if it's being recorded and it behaves in a certain way which you would expect matter to behave in. And when it's not being observed, it stays in its waveform and it behaves exactly however the heck it wants to. That's what manifesting is. And it exists because everything has been created in that way. So it's our job to get to know how that works and how we can apply that into our practice to mean that what we want gets to be perceived and gets to drop and collapse into our reality. And the metaphor that I'm always up for metaphors. This is why I have all this on behind me. This is why my book is filled with a rainbow and pictures. Metaphors are so helpful to the conscious mind. If the conscious brain gets it, like I've just explained the double split test, and I look at it all the time, like, come on, brain, let's do this. The brain's like, you know what, I kind of get it. And that's all we need to open up to our next paradigm. So I love a metaphor for explaining anything to get the brain on board. And today's metaphor is going to be when you think of manifesting, I want you to see it like the bat signal. I have three boys at my house. My biggest boy has loved Marvel since the beginning of time. And I think I've seen every Marvel release that's ever been in the cinema. So if you're not like Batman, when there's an emergency going down and the bat signal shines up into the clouds, everybody knows what that means. Everybody is like, oh, that's the yes. That's what we want to create when we're manifesting. It is essential that we create that kind of bat signal-esque. And the reason that we aren't always as clear as what would be helpful is because for so many people, especially so many people in my world, our brains are thriving on overthinking. I've been doing this work now for a good few years. I've got the formula laid out. I know how to shut it down, but I still have a brain that wants to, like, I've been diagnosed with ADHD and OCD. I have a brain that wants to go there very quickly, very often. So if you imagine the bat signal, like sending it out to the world, when you are an overthinker, when you have ADHD and your brain is like popcorn just going off here, there, and everywhere, it's very likely that you send your bat into there. You're like, I want the bat. I don't know who would want the bat. Actually, somebody I know really likes bat, but anyway, sends the bat up. And then all of a sudden it's like morphing into ice cream. It's like, oh, I could really go for some more real ice cream. And then all of a sudden the ice cream is morphing into a woodland cabin with a garden library and little ducks running around to it because that is cute. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, but it'd be so nice to live by the sea. And can you see how suddenly this bat signal, because of the nature of this overthinkingness and jumping about from thing to thing, like squirrel, like the little dog from Up, it gets diluted, it gets lost. What we want to be going for manifesting is this striking symbol that and I'm going to talk about how we move our energies to be able to project that further. That's the second point. But having this striking signal that is going out into the universe and so clear and so absolute. And you might be saying, but I don't know what that is. Stick around in my world, because that's a big chunk of what I love to do. If you're listening to this and you're like, help me, help me with that, let me know. You can do a comment on here. You can send me a message at More Than This by Emma Upton on Insta, and we can do some co-creating, because I love that. Number one is the clarity of that projection. Can you see how my brain went off it? Number two, I can do it. I can do it really well. So there's hope for us all. Number two is all of the rubbish that has happened to you, all of the trauma, all of the downright god awful things that should have never happened to you, but they have. All of those things, unless we learn to energize, to alchemize those things so they can move up and out of us, they get stuck. How do they get stuck? Because we experience them and we don't know how to process them. We don't know how to navigate them. We don't have emotionally intelligent people around us, because we're living in a world where we've lost so many wise traditions and people, because this world is nuts. We don't know what to do. And so what does any loving adult do when they see their child in distress? They tell them to shut up because their parents can't handle the pain of it. Like, oh, hey, you're all right, aren't you? Let's go and distract you with something nice, or let's buy you something nice, or let's like shame you so you like don't bring that out again, because that reminds me of my pain a bit too dramatically. So shh, because they don't know what to do with it. So it all just gets trapped and buried, and it gets trapped and buried in the root of us, like the three bottom energy points. It's in and around those that this energy gets rooted, and it sticks around and it sticks around, and it's a weight and it's hard. And so when we're wanting to use this energy and move this energy up and through us, if we don't know how to do that, if we haven't been allowed and encouraged to just experience our life as and when we're experiencing it, it's like a lead weight that we're just carrying around. And that trauma, instead of being this clear bat presence that's up in the sky, that's being projected high and wide, it's been interfered with really low. There's no power to it. There's no energy to it. It's like a little flashlight. It's like a match. It's like this teeny tiny little match trying to project up into the universe, into the heavens. And it can't get there. It's not powerful enough to get there, because it's being dragged back down into you. So I hope that's a helpful metaphor for why maybe no matter how much you're focusing on manifesting, no matter how much you're focusing on your purpose and maybe how to make your purpose into your full-time thing, no matter how much you're focusing on that specific outcome that you really desire, and it doesn't seem to matter what strategies you read about, it probably feels like, like you're not going to teach me anything about manifesting, Emma, because I know all the strategy. If you're feeling like that, hopefully the bat image will give you some insight into maybe now, I am very open now to the fact that I was very good at smushing down how I was feeling and my traumas and emotions. I don't know where you are in your journey. It might be that you're like, nah, I'm good. That would have been me at the beginning of this. Don't you know my life's perfect, Emma? Like, no, I haven't got any of that going on. This is, if you're feeling like that, just let this sit with you for a minute and ask yourself the question. Okay, is is it going as great as my brain is telling me it is, or actually is there this feeling underneath everything where it's like there's more than this can't be it? And then get curious. And the best bit about this work is there is no dancing around in your traumas. Like, they're god awful, they should never have happened, and you don't need to go back and relive them and re-experience them to be able to alchemize them. You can literally just feel the energy of what's inside you, and you can turn that and move that through you. So I've got notes to make sure that I get everything. If any of what I'm saying rings true for you, you're being invited. I would be curious. Maybe you're not here to be a manifestor. Maybe I like to call it outcome engineering. It's more science. It's more practical based. It's like, let's change the frequency of the way that your cells are vibrating. Let's change the frequency of the way that the chemistry inside your brain is vibrating, the brain waves. Let's move them through beta to alpha to theta. Let's move through, let's change the chemistry. Let's feel the energy in the different places in the body. Let's move it up and through. Like, maybe you're not meant to hope and wish and pray and manifest. Maybe you're actually meant to be really active in the process of getting the outcomes, engineering the outcomes that are for you. And if that rings true and you're like, yes, this sounds more like a bit of me, two things to work on. Number one is your signal. Okay, so your bat signal. So the first thing is gaining clarity around what you want. And the way that you get, for me in my life with my brain, how nuts it is, the way I gain clarity is not asking myself, what do I want? Because I'm like, well, right now I want some ice cream. In a minute I want to go for a walk in the woods. And then it's not helpful. What is helpful is noticing when I'm overthinking, when my OCD is just laying me out, when ADHD is dominating and I feel like I can't land on anything. It's being able to notice when I'm in the unhelpful brain structures and interrupting them. And that's the opposite of what we want, isn't it? Because when you manifest, you know what it is that you want. And we do need some clarity. We do, but if you're in a point where you're like, I'm not entirely sure, the best thing that you can ever do is you can notice when you're in brain patterns, you're like, this is just madness. I'm nowhere near close to my dreams. I'm back in 1992 thinking about when I did this horrible, like, interrupting those things. The fine formula, if you have the book or if you want a PDF, I've got, then this saved my life and continues to save my life every day. It's on my headboard, it's on my bedside. It's teaching us how we don't need to listen and be a slave to OCD and ADHD and overthinking. That's the first step. That creates space. Then it's a matter of being really honest and open with yourself and recognizing, okay, there are things in my life that have happened and that are happening that don't align with my highest self, my favorite self, Laura. One of the people in my world called Laura, she said, I'm calling myself my favorite self now when I'm not in that. If it's not in alignment with the favorite version of you, then it's something to look at. And most probably it holds an energy, and which means it holds an emotion. That's all it is. Energy is emotions in motion. That's what energy inside your body is. When you can recognize that and you can start to look at how you can alchemize and move that energy. And let me tell you, my anxiety was off the wall. I would pass out because I'd make myself so anxious. I literally gave myself unexplained lower body paralysis because my anxiety was so paralyzing. I was able to energize and learn to be able to move my energy in such a way that I could move all of that up and out of my body. That allowed me to project far and wide out into the universe. And it wasn't anything concrete, especially at the beginning, especially when you're in a new paradigm where everything feels a little bit like you shifted, you see in a different way, you perceive in a different way, you've had this shift. You're not expected to have the clarity in that moment. What you are expected to do is recognize where you're self-sabotaging inside your brain and being able to stop that. That's the same at every single level. So no matter if you have the clarity of what you want and you want to project that out into the world, cool. But if you're just at a new paradigm and it feels a little bit shaky and you're not 100% sure, allow yourself to do this over and over again until you gain the clarity and then you're like, ooh, this is the direction. I'm meant to be writing a book. I'm meant to be creating a course. I'm meant to be manifesting this into my life. I'm meant to be getting a 26-year-old caravan, which is what I've just created. Whatever it is will become more and more clear. Then the steps become more and more clear. Then the opportunities become more and more synchronized. And you're like, how does this keep happening? That's the way that your path is going to open up, and then what is for you is going to find you and collapse into 3D, like the double split screen test, where you consciously perceive it. All of a sudden you're like, okay, cool, and then the opportunity is boom, 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 and it's yours. It's that way. So if the traditional manifesting is a pain in your ass right now, or you're just a bit tired of it and you fancy something a bit different and a bit new, give this a whirl and let me know how you get on, because I love, like, hearing from you is my favorite thing. So thank you for being here. Thank you for enjoying this episode. Any thoughts or reflections, I am open to receive. I am sending you so much love.